the first episode of Strand Media podcast, and we couldn't have a better guest. Thomas is not just a dear friend, but one of the people I look up to in our industry, and I'm so honored to have him on our podcast. Thomas, welcome.
Well, thank you, Anka, and right back at you. You and Steven are just amazing to work with, and yeah, I even brought the right coffee mug here with the Strand.
Yay! I love that. I mean,
going.
I'm sure everyone who's going to watch this or listen to the podcast knows who you are, but for the ones that don't, do you want to spend 2 minutes just telling us about your background and how you got in our industry and how long you've been doing this?
Yeah, gosh. So I've been in the industry, I guess, for internet marketing for 15 years or so, and direct response core for 10 of that. That 10 years was at ClickBank, where I was a account manager, business development manager. It's where most people know me from, and then leading some different teams there as I wrapped up the tenure there just recently. So I've been able to work with quite a few performance brands over the time, quite a few big affiliates. I'm really proud of what I accomplished there. And yeah, I just recently left there a couple of weeks ago, and now kind of in a little bit of a pause and sabbatical while I chat with beautiful people like yourself and figure out what to do next.
I love that. And, you know, I'm honored that we're the first to have you on an episode after the big news, which I'm sure was a tough decision. So just to, you know, as a personal background, what do you think was the single decision that changed the trajectory of your career the most? And did you know it at the time? Like when something happened, because for me in my career was when I met Mike 11 years ago. Do you have a point that you recall that was like, okay, this changed the entire trajectory of my career?
I think there was 2 or 3 key ones. I'll try to keep them brief, but the first one was just joining ClickBank. I didn't really know what influence ClickBank had in the space it operated in. I just knew it was a company. Brett Chesney, some of you will know him. He's the event coordinator and kind of manager of events over at ClickBank. I worked with him for 4-ish years prior to ClickBank over at Page One Power. Okay. And he had left and gone to ClickBank and had hit me up, was like, hey, you should check this place out. And so as I was getting ready to move on from Page One Power, I looked and applied there. It took me a year to get hired at ClickBank. I must have not done well at my first interview. Probably because I was like, what is this? This doesn't seem real. Like, what are you selling? It was like a lot of digital dating products back then, like text your ex back and things like that. But eventually ended up getting an account manager role there. It felt like a very lateral move then. It felt like I was going from account manager position to account manager position with some better benefits. So I was like, okay, this will be good for 1.5 years or 2 years until I find something better and I move on. And I ended up not moving on for 10 years. So
10 years.
Ended up being a really good run.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to ask you this, but it's obviously a huge change and I can see you're very happy with it. I'm very happy about for me, moving from Maxwell, it was exactly 10 years as well. So
funny. Okay.
Yeah. What's the moment you knew you were going to change paths in your career? I mean, with this move from ClickBank, and you probably, I don't know, you admitted it to yourself first, I presume.
Yeah, it was a long percolating decision. We'll call it that. I think I can think back to, this was almost 4 years ago, maybe a little longer. I had gotten a really good job offer from a really respected individual, kind of not directly in our space, but let's say parallel to it. And we'd gone right down to the wire of like, okay, you're going to say yes or no. And I ultimately said no. And that's when I kind of realized I wasn't really looking to chase just more money, which it would have been. I was making really good money at ClickBank, and it wasn't a financial decision. That was like kind of my first real lifestyle decision of like, if I commit to this role, I know it's going to be more stress, more late nights. And that's when Penelope was 2 years old, right? When my oldest daughter, who's now 7. And it was just like, I don't see that being the right move for me, even though it sounds like a lot of fun. And that's what led me down a career. I guess that's what led to the decision of, I don't think I'm going to leave ClickBank for another job. I'll probably leave ClickBank when it's time, right? And I really put a big pause on like exploring other job offer kind of role
Yeah.
conversations at that point.
Well, what a position of privilege. And
Yeah.
I feel very privileged that I could do that as well. And, the fact that we can choose to do things that are healthy for us, not just driven by our financial stability. You mentioned digital offers and the dating digital offers. And I realize you've been doing this for a really long time too. And it used to be, not that now is not the Wild West, but I feel like a decade ago, it really was the Wild West in direct response. When did you feel that the industry had a shift from Wild West operators to more like an actual business? Do you feel like we lost something in the transition? Because I think obviously it was so much easier to get any type of traffic live from Meta to
That's
Google to
fair.
Outbrain. It was much easier.
Yeah, well, I think some would argue who aren't in the space that this is still the Wild West, but I think it has grown up quite a bit. I, that's a tough one. I think I kind of put it around when CPA versus rev share started getting to be the norm, and fixed CPA where there's a lot more risk on the offer owner or business than the affiliate. There's
Yeah.
shared risk, right, with more rev share
Hmm.
models. I think when the offer owners took on the full risk of refunds and chargebacks and quality, that really made it so the operators and the businesses that understood their margins, what they could actually afford to pay, were the ones that were going to win out over the long term and who understood lifetime value too. Before that, it was a bit more Wild West, I think, as the revenue was shared or the risk was shared. Refunds would come back from the affiliates too. Things couldn't get quite as aggressive and big of scale on the same front, but it let people operate with a little more flexibility on the business side because they didn't have to have their numbers so dialed in. Even though they might have been operating on thin margins still, they didn't have to be operating on a tightrope, and they might go under if they screw up and give the wrong partner the wrong CPA deal.
Yep. It's funny that you mentioned that because that was how I had the idea of MaxWeb.
Okay.
I have a business background, not a marketing one, and I was already in the industry. I was helping Mike with software projects that became buy goods, and I was at an event and everyone was talking about rev share and how complicated it is. And I knew about cost per action from a few small networks. And I think it was an event in Berlin. And I was sitting with Dana Alexander and a few friends. And the idea came to me and I was like, what if I do a network and I just use CPA? And obviously I've always looked up to ClickBank. So my idea was to take a few ClickBank offers and just put them on CPA on
Yeah,
MaxWeb. And honestly, that was how this
that worked
network came
great.
to be. Yeah. So you're right. That was quite a pivotal moment when we realized we can do that. And it did hold vendors and product owners accountable too, because you have to be more careful. It's easier to let anyone run on rev share because, they'll get refunds, but you have to be really careful who you work with if you're going to pay them CPA.
Yeah, and you've seen a lot of people make some mistakes and overpay. Even before, right, there's a lot of workarounds. My experience is obviously at ClickBank. There's a lot of workarounds to pay CPA before it was an actual feature. They'd set 0% rev share and pay CPA manually, or work with someone like
Yeah.
yourself on MaxWeb or another CPA network and
Yeah.
pay. And you just see them realize that, oh, my bank account isn't actually a reflection of my P&L. And it's like, yikes. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I'm shocked as to how many people are doing very well in our industry without a business background. I'm shocked, but in a good way. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the dream. That's what a lot of the gurus and the courses are selling because it's true. There are people that come in our space without business or financial background, and they can be really successful, especially as affiliates if you put in the work. I've wrote down a few questions before the podcast, and like one of the main ones, which it's cheesy, but I'm always really curious. Like, what's something that you believed 10 years ago that about the direct response and affiliate marketing in general, and now you feel like it was completely wrong?
Well, this one might sound a little shady, but kind of off of what you just said, I used to think our clients were the most brilliant, smartest, savvy business people in the world, right? It's like, whoa, look at the revenue they're doing on a daily basis. Look at all these sales. They're brilliant marketers. They're incredible. And don't get me wrong, I still think there's those people out there. But what I've come to realize is that, whoa, almost everyone's faking it till they make it. They are
Yes.
not really sure how they got to be so successful if they are running big revenue. They're just holding on for dear life and they're terrified more than they're confident.
Yep.
So it's one of those like once I realized that I actually had a lot to offer, it took me a while to get my feet under me in the industry and kind of really understand the business models and stuff. But once I realized I could actually help these people avoid some big mistakes and realize what their blind spots are, because a lot of them are aware they have blind spots, but they want to flex their Rolex at the industry event, and they don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing, and so does
Yep.
everyone else. So you get
Yep.
this kind of funny like, oh, everything's great, man. Yeah, everything's cool. Everything's going really well, and then they're stressed out at their hotel room later trying to keep an ad account open or something. So
Yep. Yep.
it's yeah,
I'm
I guess
with
it's
you.
that realization that it's like, okay, we're all human. We all have big insecurities and
Oh
don't
yeah.
really know how to handle them, and helping people handle those and get through business mishaps or avoid the big mistakes has been where I find a lot of fulfillment.
That's spot on. And I agree. And I think a lot of people listening to this part are going to especially people that have been doing this for quite a bit, the way you and I have. So you're right. You're right. I also thought I had this actually, I had right in the beginning, 11 years ago, I had this really bad stereotype of affiliate marketing being shady, almost like a pyramid scheme of some sort. And I'm very glad that I have learned that it's very profitable and all the huge brands use it. So, not just our friends, but a lot of the huge brands like, from Victoria's Secret to Lancome, they use affiliate marketing and it can be very profitable. So for that part, I was really happy to be proven wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
Some of our listeners are going to learn Strand is probably the best in the space when it comes to email marketing. We also have an influencer department and a few other cool traffic sources, but email, I'm so impressed with what Steven and the team has built. And coming from a position of power with MaxWeb, I generally always looked at email as a small traffic source. And that was because a lot of our affiliates run, Meta or Google or native.
Sure.
So I don't know. I feel like for the last 10 years, email was dying. Yet I'm looking at the numbers and people are printing money. It's so profitable. And, we work with huge brands. I can name all of them here, but huge brands that are printing money. So from your experience, what do you think those operators that keep winning on email understand that the other ones are missing?
Yeah, because I think, especially in the last 2 years, I think there probably is an argument to be made in our core circle of direct response that email literally is dead. People who that's how they were monetizing and able to afford customers in the first place are now really struggling as their email game has changed a lot. And I think the operators that are winning are the ones that are realizing that the value is in the list as long as you maintain and keep that core list healthy, right? I think the churn and burn, slam offers, slam swipes, slam all the same stuff to the list that everyone else is a bygone era, because Google, the ISPs are getting way better at sniffing out that, this looks like the same thing that 50 other people just sent and got spam complaints at a much higher rate. So we're going to mute that and not deliver it and ding you for it. I think that's where you're seeing people really struggle. I think there's some stuff too, right? Where I think list management companies are really worthwhile. They let people operate very lean. But I think the mistake that happens is when you say split test everything, and when you split test multiple list management companies with the same exact list, they're incentivized to get as much revenue from that list as possible to justify that they're winning versus the other. And so then you have multiple list management brokers and stuff all trying to monetize the same list to the same customer, and just burns the list even faster, instead of thinking, what's the actual customer journey through this list and how do we incrementally improve it over time? And if, yes, affiliate mailings are going to be a part of that. In-house mailings are going to be another part of that. CPM models might be a big part of that, right? Like, how are you actually generating revenue with this email list really intentionally and not just farming it out and hoping it does well?
I love that. And what I came to learn is that a lot of the big brands out there and good operators, they really, when they talk about passive income, they know how to monetize their list. And, just think about it. If you have a huge list, you can rent it out. There are many companies out there, not just Strand, that will rent your list, and you usually can name your price. It can be $2,000, $6,000, depending how huge that is, and you can rent that out and monetize. So to me, that's like beautiful passive income, but no one really spoke about this like 10 years ago. Everyone was so focused on like other traffic sources. Not everyone was like really invested into building their list. So I
Well, then
agree.
too, the idea of renting other people's lists. Like people think
Hmm.
talk about performance all the time, and you start talking like a
Hmm.
CPM, they get nervous because now
Yep.
their money's on the table versus it just
Yep.
being straight performance. And it's like, well, no, if you're used to acquiring customers on Facebook and that's gotten really expensive, you might look at someone like Strand and go, hey, can we place some orders on your stuff, right? And see how that backs
Exactly.
out. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a spoke in the wheel. Like it's there are all these beautiful traffic sources, and I build my career on affiliate marketing, so I'm always going to recommend it as a good traffic source. But with paid media, you're actually investing, and it's one spoke of the wheel. It can be, every month you should have some investments with email, maybe influencer native, depending on your traffic source. But if you only rely on affiliates, and I used to think it's like enough, it's really tough because if affiliates get a really good offer from a competitor, many times they're going to switch over. They're going to get a better CPA. So, as a good, sound business decision, it's smart to rely on other traffic sources. And, paid media is not as scary as you think because paying an affiliate CPA can get just as costly, especially if you're not
Yeah.
careful with the cost.
That was one of the big disqualifiers with people. Everyone wants affiliates, right? Oh yeah, we want affiliates, but then you actually work through what their offer is, what they can afford to pay, and like,
Hmm.
oh, we thought we could pay like 30%. It's like, what's your customer acquisition cost? Oh, it's like 80%. It's like, well, why did you think affiliates were going to be so much cheaper? Almost 150% cheaper than what you're acquiring customers at now. Yeah, so
Yep.
uh, you
I'm
probably need to
with you.
match what you're doing. It's more of an expansion in my mind versus a really cheap traffic source, right?
100%. Okay, what's a good secret? Something that everyone, when you went to masterminds or like private parties, what do you feel is one of those secrets that people speak in top rooms, but they don't like to share it publicly?
Mhm.
Besides being terrified.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, they don't even share that public or in those public rooms. They're just quietly screaming to the pillow. But it's the this is a hard one for me to answer because I find that this industry is so forthcoming with knowledge that
Hmm.
it's people are really. Honestly, I think the secret is just go to those private events,
It's just
which is less
smart.
of a secret. It's like people are very forthcoming with helping solve a problem, even if it looks like your direct competitors on paper or to the
I
public
love that.
market.
That has been my experience for sure.
Yeah. And it's all who you know. Like you have to know what you don't know so you can actually get your problem solved. But it's like, I mean, compliance is a big one. That's kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I'm not just talking about ClickBank. It's more of like even Facebook and Meta and
Hmm.
Google and Alphabet and all that stuff, right? It's when we realized this was eons ago in direct response marketing world, it's like, how are these people running so aggressively on Facebook? It's like, oh, their office is across the hallway from the Facebook office in Israel. It's
Yep.
like, oh, okay.
Yep. That's
It's like,
true, Thomas.
yeah,
That's spot on.
yeah. They don't have
It's
any like
relationships.
secret knowledge other than like, oh yeah, they're getting lunch with the Facebook ad rep, and they can get
I
some
I
stuff approved.
spent
We
I
can't.
spent time I
Yeah.
spent time in Tel Aviv at the Opera and Taboola offices
Hmm.
when after I opened the network, and that's how I made a lot of friends at Google. That to the day I was in Hamburg last week, and I was very honored to be there. But that's something that started years ago, building those relationships. And many times stuff gets approved because of the relationship and knowing someone. So that's actually very good advice.
Well, yeah, and that's probably changing, right, with AI getting more overlapping everything, right, and kind of getting more automated on different platforms. But that's just an example, right? Like if you want quote unquote special treatment, whether it's better terms or compliance or speed, right? Who you know is probably going to help you get there than just throwing money at a problem or just trying
Yep.
to hope it works out.
100%. Speaking of knowing important people, which I don't know about you, but for me, just having people that I can trust helped me tremendously. Who's someone in that industry you feel like not necessarily an underdog, but who's
Hmm.
someone that because we always tend to speak about people that everyone knows, but I would love to know if you think of someone that never got the credit they deserve for doing some really cool things in our space.
Yeah, there's there's a couple that come to mind. Some of the less public people, I guess. One is Alona Rudinsky, right? And she comes to mind a lot. She was business partners with Amber Spears for a lot of years, and Amber was more the face of East Fifth Avenue and kind of the different
Alana
masterminds
is
and stuff. So
awesome.
people really knew Amber. And Alona is more of the operator behind the scenes, and she's just brilliant. She's helped
She
me with
is.
some major career decisions over the years. She's helped me with some personal development stuff. She's a great if you ever need a book recommendation or anything like that. And she's built very scaled agencies, right? Two or three in her career, and knows
Nice.
affiliate programs in and out. So it's like she's just brilliant at what she does. So she's one that comes to mind in a big way. Josh Noble, people know him pretty well, but
Oh my gosh. Well,
Tony Grebmeyer casts such a
surprisingly,
large
yeah.
shadow, right? But it's Tony's obviously the face and has built Ship Offers for what it is. But Josh executing on what he has in the last 10 years, we have very parallel career tracks at ClickBank and Ship Offers, right? Then what we were able to execute on the ClickBank Ship Offers partnership and his vision for growing Ship Offers on the sales side. It's like I don't think people realize what an impact he's had.
You're
Not just the
right. My
dinners they
gosh.
host, but just
Oh,
the way they approach clients and everything. But yeah.
yeah. I love that. And I was thinking, some of the questions that I have for you, I will obviously love to share with other guests I'm going to have on the podcast. But that's a big one because I feel many times, the face of the company gets a lot of recognition, but then not that they don't deserve it because I was the face of Mexa for a
Yeah.
really long time. But if we're being honest, a lot of the team was like superstar ninjas, and I would like for people to talk more about
Yeah.
about them.
Sorry, there's one more if you don't mind me name dropping. It's
No, never.
Robbie Amaro. He's with Vitality Health for a while, but I have not seen someone level up the way he did from his start in the industry, right? At Six Pack Shortcuts, just boots on the ground salesperson, to kind of, we joke about him being a CMO, right? But really to a high level CEO and now consultant for others, and then exiting Vitality now,
Yep.
Vitality now at Vitality Health.
Yep.
And yeah, he's doesn't travel to a ton of events. He's pretty behind the scenes. People who know him and how he operates, but he's just another level, has been another mentor and friend over the years that I look forward to working with more, or just, sharing some drinks
I
with.
love
But
that.
yeah,
And if whoever is watching this and listening to it, I would love for you guys to share wherever you're listening. If you're on YouTube, just drop a comment for us and let us know about some really cool people that we should. You know what? This is going to be a great intro. I'm actually going to reach out to Lana and Robbie and Josh, and I'm going to interview them for the podcast. I think that
perfect.
would
Yeah.
be
Obviously,
very
there's so
cool.
many other names but they all have their flowers already, so we don't need
Yeah.
to mention that.
Yeah, they have the trophies in the office. Okay, amazing. So we know you. When I think of Thomas, I think of the face of ClickBank, and there are so many things that you've done for ClickBank and for our industry. Is there anything that you feel like, I don't know, if you can go back and unlaunch an offer or a trend or something that you helped popularize, maybe CPA, and you're like, oh, that was a terrible idea. We should have just stick with rev share. I don't know. Is there anything that you would like to take back or not really?
Not really. I mean, gosh. The hard part of direct response is that it kind of operates in the fringes sometimes on what feels good or not in the marketing, what's good for the customer or not. So of course there's some different specific offers or ways of marketing. The hard part for me is I don't know how much influence I directly had over them or not. I was tasked to grow revenue, and I figured out how to do that really well, which I'm proud of. There are some things where it's oh yeah, earning a commission check off of that doesn't feel great, but at the same time, I don't know. I strongly believe the platforms are largely the platform. There's only so much self-policing they can do at any kind of given scale.
100%.
You're seeing some of this get squeezed out on the different platforms. When I say the platforms in that context, sorry, it's like the metas and the alphabets again. We're all kind of waiting to see what the playing field is.
Yep,
So,
I agreed.
Yeah, short answer is no, I wouldn't unlaunch anything. The longer answer gets pretty convoluted. You can tell there's some moral quandaries there a bit, but
For all of us, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
just a given. And, for me was, I wouldn't unlaunch some of the offers because they help build the network to what it was. But, some of the more complex business decision, I wish, for example, I would have launched our own CRM sooner because now there are brilliant ones with the help of AI. But, we launched the current CRM, which affiliates used to complain about it, and I should have listened to that sooner and not wait a few years. But it's so much easier when you look back, right? And you see this puzzle that's like clearly
Yeah, that's the hard
aligned. And
part, right? I think looking back, like you try to vet offers on quality and you get different quality rates and performance off platform, but then it ends up either not being true or someone didn't know how to look at the data and it doesn't perform as well. So it's really tough to look back and go, oh, I would have done that differently. There are some things like more internally at ClickBank I would have done differently in how I approach things, or I wish I would have spoken up larger on pushing forward for some different features or for some different business decisions. So it's like, yeah, I think me getting comfortable as a middle manager and working up to a C level and really pressing them harder on some different decisions, I would have done differently. But in the space and as a ClickBank as a whole, it's hard to look back and go, oh, I wouldn't or would have done this. Like CPA as the example is one that we knew would unlock a ton of revenue and we needed to grow. So it's like, that is what we went and got. And that ended up, we thought it might be like 60-40 would be CPA versus rev share. Now it's like 98-2.
True.
It's like, like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. But you're at the same time, if the businesses that are operating that way can't support it, it's kind of indicative of that would have been happening regardless, or probably on another platform that could offer that feature if we didn't. So I keep saying we and say they.
Yes, I've been there. Okay, so I did a lot of social media content lately, talking about affiliates versus paid media. And obviously, because with Strand we do paid media, it's easier for me to understand that angle better now. Even though I built my career in affiliate marketing, I keep saying that it's nothing wrong with it. On the contrary, it should be part of any business when it looks at the different pieces of the puzzle. So the way I see it, affiliates optimized and they think about clicks, where operators and paid media, it's more focused on the lifetime value of the brand. So if you were to make the case, why is paid media more defensible than affiliate traffic, even though on paper, sometimes it's easier or better to work with affiliates?
And when you say paid media, I assume you mean like an internal campaign.
Yep. It can be paid media. You're buying email traffic, you're buying influencer traffic, you're buying native traffic. So paid media is your not just cost per action. You don't wait for something to happen to pay it back. You're trying to buy media and hope for the best.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, going back to the qualifying offers, the business development team at ClickBank always looked for offers that were proven on paid media first, right? Like, so I highly recommend companies leverage internal paid media, even to a small degree, because it gets you just thinking more in acquisition costs and LTV, like exactly like you said, versus just big R revenue, which hides a lot of sins. I think it's more defensible in the sense that you have full control over it, from campaign to creative, all the way down to pure profit on the LTV side of things. Now, the hard part of it is that you might not be able to scale as big as a paid affiliate, right? Who is very good at, say, Meta, and can scale to 6+7 figures a day on an offer or something like that. And now you might not want to operate at that level with that kind of person, but this is an example of if you want to go branch into another channel or expand what you're doing on your current channel, you can't do it as fast, and agencies aren't the right fit. A performance affiliate might be a great fit to kind of keep expanding your reach with paid.
I love that. And that was such a great point. A lot of product owners spend so much time building a product they believe it's going to be fantastic, and then they think just putting it on a platform, it's going to bring them traffic. But everyone is asking, okay, well, how is it converting? And I love when people that have been doing this for a while, ever since I moved to Strand, I have friends that reach out and they're like, I have this new offer and I really need to test. Can you help us with some traffic? And I love that. They get it because they're going to get the data that we provide. And it's so much easier to go to affiliates and tell them, this is what we have. This is how well it converted. And it's kind of like tuition. I love a good metaphor. So it's like all this data, paid media, it's like tuition to learn as much as you can about your offer. So obviously it's not just because Strand does it, but there are other agencies out there that offer great traffic sources and are very helpful.
100%. And I also love a metaphor, right? We always use the one of affiliates are more like pouring gasoline on a fire, but if you just have a pile of sticks and you just pour some gas on it, you're just gonna have some soggy sticks.
Yes, exactly.
So you need to get the fire going yourself.
Yep. Okay, more advice. If you were to start your own agency and you didn't have a big budget, would you start with any given traffic source and why?
Yeah. So again, I would start with paid, right? I'd do internal paid and or I'm a content marketing fan, but that is a longer tail play. Like it's a longer time period play than but content marketing and paid is where I'd start to kind of get traction initially, even with a small budget. I'd pick your poison if you want YouTube or Alphabet or Google or Meta and Instagram and Facebook, right? Or TikTok. But for the same reasons, I want to own the data. I want to know what's happening. I want to optimize for conversion and for LTV. And then as I get things working, I'd be rolling things out to probably some close affiliate partners who like to test new offers that might look like content creators, but to me, it's all kind of the same coin, right? You're paying for performance at the end of the day, whether it's
Yeah.
on a CPM on the front end or on, a commission split on the back end. So, but it'd definitely be starting with paid internally first.
Yep. It gets expensive to run an offer, but it's more expensive if you just expect everyone else to run the traffic and for you to not invest at all in, learning the data. So we'll see. I mean,
It's
I
just
feel like
yeah.
we're still learning. This year, I mean, we're just guessing. I feel like it's the first time in my career when I really am not sure about the direction of our industry. I can say I can see that email is doing much better than it did, even though for a lot of our friends is not. From what I've seen as performance, I feel like email is doing really well. I see that Google, now that compliance issues are better, is doing well. But overall, I feel like we're still learning. And this year, we're trying to see like, okay, where is the playing field gonna be, right? With the offers, are we gonna still have our aggressive offers that are clean, or we're just gonna have this, very aggressive direct response offers and incredibly clean vanilla brands? So I feel like we're still learning. But from your perspective, what do you think it's something that feels really important right now, but it's not gonna matter in like a year?
I want to say deep fakes.
I've been hoping for that for a long time, but
Yeah. But again, yeah, and there are some different, there's some different rulings coming down from some courts and some governments on that kind of thing. But, you saw Facebook put out PR months ago now, like how they're cracking down, but none of the people we know running huge volume with those tactics got hit with it. So it seems like more of a "well, look at what we're doing," not really a thing they're
enforcing.
really pursuing. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's enforcing. Thank you.
Yep.
So yeah, for me, the deep fakes was always going to happen.
I
Regardless,
mean,
like
with the
it's just kind
change,
of the natural.
with AI coming, so sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you. I mean, with AI happening, it was just a matter of time when people, I mean, especially in direct response, affiliates have been so aggressive for as long as I can remember. It was a matter of time until we saw it.
Yeah, and right, and even before quote unquote deep fakes, how many Dr. Oz ads and Shark Tank ads were
Mhm.
out running out there, just for example, right? That weren't quote unquote deep fakes, but were very in the similar vein of things. So it's that kind of thing has been around. So now you're just pouring gasoline on the fire with AI and the ability to run really quickly with really compelling deep fakes that look very
Yep.
legitimate. So it's if you're competing with the people running that way, you don't want to run that way. It's like, okay, you need to define the sandbox you want to play in and realize that there are plenty of people still winning in those spaces. It might not be winning
Oh,
the
yeah.
same affiliate traffic that you're used to, but it's going to be going, okay, if this is the sandbox that I'm putting myself in, how do I win in that sandbox? And there's still plenty of ways to do that, which I think is exciting. I look
Oh
at,
my gosh, yes. I'm so glad. I mean, ever the last few months. So I took a couple of months off after I decided to exit MaxWeb, and then I started having conversation with friends, and then I landed with this beautiful company. But I see people win with amazing clean offers, and it makes me so happy. And it's outside of our like friendship. We have, it's normal after 10 years you have 20 people you see often at events. You're starting to believe that's all that happens in our industry, and I was wrong. There are like these great brands out there. I was talking to this brand in Canada the other day, and it's called the scalp treatment, but it's really like a shampoo, but it's like this whole process around scalp health and how, and they have this huge budgets, and they have like this great like TikTok campaigns, and now they want to invest in email. And then a couple of days later, I was talking to someone in New York. They have like the instant coffee filters anyway, but there's so many cool brands out there. And you're right. It's like we need to redefine the sandbox, who we want to work with. And it's not as stressful as I thought. There are many cool brands out there. So,
Yeah, there's so many ways to make a buck, right? And
hmm
the tricky part, whenever there's a big shakeup, I used to work in SEO before ClickBank, and it seemed like there'd be a big shakeup in Google changing some algorithm and just wiping out people's businesses. Like, just, hey, we're killing it, to I don't have any traffic coming in anymore because Hummingbird or Panda or Penguin rolled out and broke everything about my business. So I think what we're seeing is a similar thing where the market has shifted in what is winning traffic in the short term here. I'm not convinced it's going to win there in the long term, because I don't think some of these offers running with this aggressive type of marketing are going to be able to last on the different types of networks out there. I give it, I don't know, 6-ish months until they're scrambling for different processing and cobbling together some things.
Yeah.
So after that time frame, is their ability to kind of go back to the, let's call them gray hat offers, because a lot of the scaled offers before weren't really white hat. They were still pretty aggressive.
Like the middle.
Yeah. So it's like, do those come back? I don't know. I really don't know. I think some people are waiting and hoping they do instead of acting on something new. But yeah, it's just it's a tricky time. It is a lot of change, but change is constant. So it's hard to guess what's going to happen in 6 to 12 months.
The only constant in life is change. I have two sayings that I always say, like, be kind, and the only constant in life is change, all the time. Okay, it's because I always like to ask about lessons and what we can learn from someone as brilliant as you. What was the most expensive lesson in your career that you feel like could have been avoided?
Ooh, excuse me. Most expensive lesson that could have been avoided. I used to drink a lot. A lot.
I'm so happy that we're going through this like trend now that it's healthy to not drink. I love it.
Yeah. And I mean, the hard part is it was very positive reinforcement, because I won a lot of business with relationships I made very late at night. So
yep, I hear you.
Yeah, this is how I network. I'm baller. And a lot of that was, sorry, this is a bit convoluted, but I guess I was diagnosed ADHD early 30s when I kind of, or maybe, a couple of, let's say 3-4 years ago.
Thank you for sharing that. I feel like that's something that people forget that we experience. As someone who has had a lot of health issues the last 10 years while doing a lot, I do feel like I haven't talked about it enough. So thank you for sharing that. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like retrospectively, like looking back, it's like, wow, I wish I would have known that about myself decades ago.
Yeah.
Because I think it would have freed up a lot of insecurities and questions about myself, that it's like, no, operating this way is okay. Getting drinking and other things under control would have been a lot easier earlier on than going into my 30s, I think. At the same time, it's tough. I don't know if my 25-year-old self would have listened to me now, So
I know mine wouldn't for sure.
Right?
Be like,
it's like, I would have bought Bitcoin. But it's like, I've learned over the years that I don't resonate with Bitcoin, so I kind of ignore it.
Same.
Yeah, and it's like there's a lot of like, what's an expensive lesson? Probably selling my Bitcoin, but is the correct answer. But also it gives me a lot of peace at night, not stressing about it. So at the same time, yeah, it's hard. It's a hard one to pin on. Like, what's a very expensive lesson? I feel like my career has been in large part defined by continued learning, right? And that's always looking for new lessons. And so like, I don't really regard it as mistakes as much as, oh, okay, that's going to help me refine the next thing I do. So there's lots of mistakes I made, especially early on as a business development manager at ClickBank, where I was onboarding the wrong types of clients that weren't scaling, as putting me into a corner. But all of those let me really craft the sales narratives and craft the disqualifying methods that have then used to help train Kyle Meredith, who's excelled and blown past what I've done, and the rest of the team. So those things really compound. And so I wouldn't there's some expensive mistakes I made, but they just ended up paying dividends down the road.
Yeah. I like that a lot. And everyone on podcasts like this, I hear everyone asks, and I obviously love to figure out what we would tell people that are getting started. But my question for you is, what's your advice, not to someone that's getting started, to someone like you and I who have been doing this for 10 years and doesn't maybe have not the grit, but like, many people feel exhausted after 10 years of doing this. People feel exhausted. And what would be your advice to those people? Because I mean, we know what we would tell people that are just getting started, but what would you tell someone that has been doing this for 10 years well, and they're just tired and they're like, oh gosh, what am I going to do next?
First, that's okay to feel that way. Right. Like I think it's okay to recognize where you're at and that the burnout can be very much be real, and a pause or a reset, if you've got the means to do it, is a healthy thing to explore. I think also taking that time to look forward and go, what do I want to really work on and build, and what lights me up on the day to day? Like, what do I really enjoy doing? I think a lot of people who get success in one way or another in their career end up doing a lot of things that don't light them up, right? Because you get really good at one thing, but that turns into admin work in another way and all this other stuff. So it's like, what is the elf versus half, right? Easy, lucrative, and fun. What versus the hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating, and just clearing out the hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating as much as possible. Easier to do now than ever with AI and different admin support, but really focusing on what that is, especially hobbies. I think that's the hard part when I talk with some business owners, and it's like, when's the last time you took a real vacation? Not like went somewhere cool on your business Amex card because you could expense it, and then we're still checking your laptop every 4 hours on your phone constantly. It's like, when did you actually disconnect from the business? If the answer it's been, I can't remember, or, oh, I don't do that because I just like to grind. It's like, do you really? Or would you love to go windsurfing somewhere for a week and not look at your phone? And you just don't want to admit it. Yeah. So I don't know. That's for me. It's that it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to acknowledge that way. And there's more people feeling that way than you think. So if you can share that in close company with people you trust or not, like you're going to find that you get more close relationships and conversations that way than just trying to push through.
Yep. I agree 100%. All right. I'm going to try my best to keep the podcast to an hour. But one more thing that I wanted to ask you, and if you're comfortable sharing, what's next for Thomas? Did you think about your next steps, or you're just enjoying your break for now? I'm sure so many of our friends and colleagues would love to know what's next for you.
Yeah, it's kind of in flight, I'd say. So what's next for me after leaving ClickBank? I'm really passionate about wanting to do my own thing. I got that question. That's probably the main question I got over my tenure at ClickBank is, why don't you do your own thing? It's usually around launching an offer or being an affiliate. I don't really gravitate that way. What I really like is working with owner operators, working with businesses. I'm good at business development, and I'm good at critically thinking through the different pain points and levers and lifetime cycle of a direct response, brand response kind of business. So what I'm really working on is likely a consulting business, working with owner operators in the direct response, brand response space, and then working with B2B companies, right? Like different people that are looking for kind of more enterprise sales team support. The thing I'm trying to be mindful of is it's very easy to think really big and grand and like build something huge. And I'm trying to be very mindful of what do I want my lifestyle to look like in the next 5 to 10 years, or whatever it is as the girls are growing and everything's happening. So I've been chatting with Dominic a bit, so we'll probably do something together in some capacity. He left for some different reasons, and he's got some other things he's working on, but I really enjoy working with him, so we'll probably get something going here over the summer. But later this summer, we'll launch fully and kind of get some stuff going.
I love that. And I really hope whatever you do next, you stay in our industry, because the direct response world is so much better for you being in it. And I'm not saying that because you're on the podcast and, I genuinely mean it. You're so cool. And I have learned so much from you over the years. And I feel like there are many other people who can benefit from your expertise.
Thank you so much, Anka. Yeah. No, I mean, when I look at what I like to do, looking at that elf versus half stuff, right? I like working with people like yourself who are collaborative, who are critical thinkers, who are driven, but kind of are aware that they need some support and are open to coaching, consulting, whatever it might be, right? And kind of figuring through the avoiding some mistakes and capitalizing on some strengths they have. So I find I'm good at guiding people through that. That's what fills me up. And I want to keep exploring that as best I can.
I love that so much. Okay, great. I feel like we did a good job with saying a lot without, this is like a good listen for someone going to work or coming back from work. Is there anything else, something that you want our listeners to take with them from our podcast, or important advice, something you really want to share before we close?
Just like you said, it's been a tumultuous time with it, as AI growing and growing and growing, and everyone really uncertain of what's going on. Just doubling down that everyone's a bit uncertain what's going on. You don't have to know everything. If you feel like you're behind on AI, you're probably well ahead of the general population and all that. So I wouldn't stress too much about it. If you find that you're scrambling for time in the day, trying to build in some intentional try to delegate to AI or elsewhere off your team that, hey, here's what do I actually like to do? Keep your lane in that. And the second or fourth, fifth thing, I don't know what it is reach out, right? If you want to chat with anybody, myself, yourself, Anka, right? Like, we're all pretty open and giving and like to connect with good people doing good business. So if you're feeling stuck, others are too, and reaching out to them is a great way to kind of build some community and kind of build some relationships outside of the different networking events that we all see each other out at some rooftop bars.
I love it. Spot on. I say this all the time. People genuinely love to share what works, especially if you ask. So you would be surprised how many operators out there are so excited to share what works and what doesn't. So thank you. Thank you so much, Thomas, for giving us your time. And I will put an email for you in the comments. So then if anyone wants to connect with you, they can do so by email.
Thank you, Anka. Yeah. You can always follow me in Happy Scaling on different platforms. LinkedIn, Facebook's all good. And I'll get you my email. That's a good one to reach out to for anyone looking to chat.
I love that. Thank you so much, Thomas. You are the best.
Well, thank you. It's been fun being on this side of the microphone.